I am back with another sourdough recipe, except this is going to be a sour discard recipe. I have not fed my sourdough starter in 24 hours, and she needs to be fed. But before we feed her, or as we feed her I guess, we're going to take half a cup of it, and we are going to make a pumpkin sourdough discard loaf, because I actually came with a streusel topping, because I love a like crunchy, it's almost like caramelized brown sugar. That's like what I think about for a streusel topping on top. Duh, because it's called a topping. Anyways, I realized that I never made a zucchini bread this summer, and I was like, wow, that's really disappointing because I love zucchini bread. But because it's already September, I was like, we're just gonna jump right into pumpkin bread because that is equally as delicious, you know? So, and it's gonna be done in one bowl, except the streusel topping. So let's just get to it. First things first, I need to make some homemade buttermilk because this recipe calls for a 1/4 cup of buttermilk. Now technically you can just use a 1/4 cup of whole milk, or if you got a lemon on hand, just add about like a teaspoon of lemon juice, or you could use apple cider vinegar into your 1/4 cup of whole milk, and then let that sit for like 5 minutes, and it's gonna bring up the acidity levels so that it will bake very similar, if not the same, to buttermilk. So that's my little tip. So while that sits, I'm gonna move all this aside and get our one bowl for the technically one bowl pumpkin loaf, if you're not adding the topping. I'll be right back. I am back. We're gonna start off with 2 large eggs. And we're going to cream that with our 1/2 cup of olive oil. If you don't like olive oil, you could use a more neutral oil. You can use coconut oil. I mean, you could even use like a 1/3 cup of melted butter, but I personally love olive oil in loaf cakes. We're also gonna add 1/2 cup of granulated cane sugar and a 1/4 cup of light brown sugar. And then we're going to whisk this vigorously for like 2 minutes. This is where you can get a nice little arm workout for like one singular arm. But you're gonna notice just after like 30 seconds, it's gonna have this beautiful foamy, or like, I don't know, it's gonna double in size, and it's gonna get nice and creamy and almost like frothy in a sense. I don't know if that's the right word, guys. I'm not really great at describing things. But okay, technically you don't have to beat this for 2 minutes. You can just do like a minute. And then we're going to add some of our other wet ingredients, like a cup of pure pumpkin puree. Should be using a spoon and not a knife. But listen, less dishes is always better. I already had it out. Okay, 1/2 cup of plain Greek yogurt adds a little protein. My recent obsession, I used to love, it took me a while to find a good cottage cheese like ensemble, like ratio, because sometimes cottage cheese pancakes are a little flat. I'm not gonna lie, most of the times they're flat and they're dense, and I hate a flat and dense pancake. So it took me a while to find like the proper ratio for cottage cheese pancake, and I was obsessed with those. And then I was like, what if, because I am currently in an obsession with yogurt. I go through phases, guys, and I freaking love a yogurt pancake. Made some pumpkin versions, so a little yogurt on that finger. Yeah, I want to do like a chai version for December, for like Christmas time, or like a gingerbread. That sounds so good. Okay, so we added our pumpkin puree, our yogurt, and I'm gonna go ahead and add in our 1 teaspoon baking soda, 2 teaspoon pumpkin spice, that's over here, 1 teaspoon ground cinnamon, and then 1/4 teaspoon salt. You could add a little more salt if you like a little more saltiness in your baked goods. My family is not huge on sweet and salty. I personally am. But this is how I like to make a one bowl mixture, is I like to add in like the baking agents and seasonings in the very last portion of like mixing all the wet ingredients together, if that makes sense. I feel like that makes it like more evenly distributed without like over mixing the batter. Okay, then we'll add in our I need y'all to see this up close. It's literally curdled. This is the coolest thing ever. Because sometimes buttermilk can be expensive, and if you only need a little bit and you're not using all of it, like why pay for it? I'm gonna show you it's curdled. It's so cool. I don't know if it's focusing, but you can kind of see like how it's curdled a little bit. Oh, okay, oven's ready. We need to add, where's my little yogurt? I'm gonna reuse my yogurt measuring cup, but we're gonna add half a cup of sourdough discard. Technically, if you wanted to, you could add half a cup of sourdough like the night before and then let it ferment overnight. I'll put that in the description because you don't want it to ferment with the eggs because that will obviously like spoil the eggs. I had to make sure I was filming for a minute. So if you saw me look over, but yeah, you like with my sourdough chocolate cake, you ferment it with the olive oil, flour, cocoa powder, and then the sourdough starter. So you would basically do the same thing here. You could let it ferment with the flour, olive oil, probably like the pumpkin puree. And the thing is, you don't want to use any like dairy to ferment overnight. Anything that could spoil on the counter. So maybe like replace the buttermilk with some hot water. Okay, I feel like I'm making that complicated. Let's just do sourdough discard. I feel like it's just easy and it's just as scrumptious. And then so we added a half a cup of that. And now we need 1 3/4 cup of flour. Using my very ratchet measuring cup. I really gotta get some new ones. But, you know, you don't always need new things. Just because the dishwasher is really eating away their finish. Okay, 1 cup. And then 3/4 cup. I mean, that works. I feel like sometimes you don't have to get too picky on if it's like over the measuring cup a little bit. I feel like a teaspoon or 2 is not gonna kill the recipe. Then again, maybe professional bakers would kill me for saying that, but I feel like, I don't know, maybe as a home baker it won't. Maybe in like a professional situation, it does. Okay, anyways. Slowly mix this all together until it's nice and smooth, which I used a little bit of a smaller bowl than I should have. So it might take me a hot minute, but we don't want to over mix the batter. Again, just until it's combined. That was my biggest faux pas when I first started baking like on my own, like with no one, like no family, like not my mom or my grandma in the kitchen with me, is I would be like, I'd mix, and I'd be like, super smooth batter, like, yeah, that's perfect. When in reality, sometimes a few bumps will not kill you because over mixing the batter can make it dense and just not bake as well. Which I want to really like read up on the science behind that. Because the science of baking is so interesting to me. Okay, I'm going to show y'all what this looks like so you can feel at peace putting it in your loaf pan. But I'm also going to get the loaf pan ready. I like to butter my loaf pan and with some like softened butter so it sticks to the edges. And then put parchment paper with like little sleeves so it's easy to pull up. Goodness, it's looking and smelling so good already. You know what's a good sign? When the batter itself tastes good, you know? Also, I feel like this would be really, really good. I have not tried it yet, but really good with brown butter instead of olive oil. If you do that, instead of half a cup olive oil, do a 1/3 cup of browned butter. Or you can do half a cup, but it may be a little overpowering. Anyway, speaking of butter, we're gonna add 4 tablespoons to a little saucepan, and we're gonna melt that to make the streusel topping. Oh my gosh, you guys! I forgot to add the chocolate chips! I really want chocolate chips. Pumpkin bread and zucchini bread is a method to eating chocolate chips. Okay, I'm like debating this in my head. I'm gonna stir it into the loaf pan batter right now. That's what we're gonna do. I'm adding, I think this is like 3/4 cups of chocolate chips. They're mini though. Otherwise I'd probably do half a cup. And I think I'm just gonna take the knife and swirl it. It's gonna be very unevenly distributed, but that's okay. Because life is not perfect, and neither are we going to ever be in the kitchen. This is a reminder to fold in the chocolate chips prior to putting it in the loaf pan. But worst case, you can always fold it in the loaf pan. The butter is almost melted, so I'm gonna put 2/3 cups of flour in a bowl for the topping. A little bit more. Perfect. And then a teaspoon of cinnamon. Twirling all over this kitchen this morning. I forgot that I took you'll see how much cinnamon I put in there. I forgot that I took the top off the cinnamon that lets you like pat it in there. This is like a teaspoon and a half. That's okay. And then our butter is done, kind of browning on us. And 1/3 cup of brown sugar. Is this gonna be too hot for me to touch? No, we're good. Lovely. Okay, I'm gonna get a spoon. Sometimes I'll like squeeze it in my hand and then break it up before putting it over, and it'll make like larger streusel chunks. And then I'll mix that with like more finer ones. It's going in the oven for about 60-65 minutes at 350 degrees Fahrenheit, or until like a toothpick inserted into center comes out clean. That is going to be your best friend to knowing when something is done, especially a loaf cake, which can be so finicky. This is my little glaze. It's just powdered sugar, whole milk, and I would add vanilla, but I just ran out of vanilla. I just saw a fly. I have my kitchen window. I took the screen off, and so I love that because it makes it super bright in here, and you can just, I don't know, I don't like screens on windows, but the one issue is flies can periodically come in, and then I have to find them and to swat them. Anyways, we're gonna add that as soon as this cools a little bit. And y'all's is gonna look a lot prettier than mine because I use my smaller loaf pan, so just keep that in mind. Cake is done, and now it is time to slice it and maybe make a second cup of coffee, because pumpkin loaf cake and coffee are just so good together. Let's find a knife. I think I put it, yeah. I thought I used it this morning because I had an English muffin this morning. Guys, I don't know if I'm in frame, but an elite breakfast on the go. This goes to prove how much if I don't meal prep breakfast, and it's not on like a Sunday, even Saturdays, I'm really terrible about making like a good breakfast, but Sundays I'm pretty good about it. But during the week, if I don't meal prep, it's probably going to be some kind of toast, sourdough toast, or an English muffin with some ghee, salted ghee, and honey. I'm about to do it again. So good though. Okay, let's slice this. Oh, that is a thick slice I made. Oh, so beautiful. Here's my thing. I was gonna talk and then I realized I had chocolate on my teeth. When I like bake pumpkin, I don't want it to like scream pumpkin. And I know that's kind of contradictory to like when you bake, you want it to like with the cardamom bun, like you want to be like what's that word? Like it's like a cardamom hug. Like you feel it like in like you taste it in every bite. But with pumpkin, I just want it to be lightly pumpkin-y, like a light little bit of a pumpkin spice, and just like ultimately just warm and cozy. And that's what this is. So it's not super overwhelmingly pumpkin-y, but that perfect touch of pumpkin, that perfect slight sweetness, because if you want it sweeter, you can add more like maple syrup, or you can add more sugar, but I personally love it slightly sweet. It's so yummy. That's pretty much it for today. Super easy, super simple. I will not see y'all for another recipe video, on the next recipe video. After that, you will. For the next video, I think I'm going to, this is really sweet and really fun. I'm so excited. I'm going to Italy with my mom and one of my cousins / besties. So I might do a little video in relation to that, and then we'll get back to fall baking afterwards. So I guess we'll see what happens, and I'll see you later.